Our top story for tonight, we've seen some significant shifts in the rookie rankings. We've gotten news from OTA over the course of the last 2 months, 2.5 months since the April draft. There's been a lot of shifts. We're starting to see a little bit more clarity right before training camp opens of where these rookies are pegged. And that's going to influence not only where they're being drafted and what rookie dynasty drafts are still left for this summer, but also now that it's July, it's hot best ball summer. And if these rookies can get elevated right away, they can be an immediate impact on your best ball team. But we also have to be a little careful about some rookies who are not getting the attention that we thought that they deserved coming out of the draft, that they were positioned to have. But I'm going to dive into some of these news stories that you may have missed right after this. All right. We're here. I'm Bradley Stalder, player profiler today, Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be talking about Roman Wilson. We're going to talk about Blake Corum, J.J. McCarthy. Yes, University of Michigan players, national champion University of Michigan players. But we're also going to talk about some other risers and fallers based on what has happened this offseason. We'll talk about some Keon Coleman. We'll talk about Trey Benson news. We'll talk about Ricky Pearsall's situation. We'll get into these rookies. The first one I do want to talk about is Roman Wilson. We loved Roman Wilson. There was a lot of love for Roman Wilson coming out of the draft. He got the draft capital that we thought he needed. Day 2 capital, round 3. We haven't seen a wide receiver drafted that high by the Pittsburgh Steelers since, George Pickens. And then before him, Deontay Johnson. So there was a pathway for Roman Wilson to be de facto wide receiver 2 with the departure of Deontay Johnson. However, this is not going to be the case, at least as of right now. The beat reporters have been crickets at OTAs about Roman Wilson. They haven't even mentioned him in any of the litanies of secondary, tertiary wide receivers. So my concern with Roman Wilson is I was drafting him in the 140s and 150s, and now he needs to fall. He needs to fall off our radar. The Pittsburgh Steelers already have some organizational concerns. Russell Wilson, are we sure he's good? Like good at football, good at sustaining fantasy football? That's a major question. If the answer is no, will Justin Fields be able to support not just a Pat Freiermuth and a George Pickens, but also a second wide receiver? I'm not confident that that happens given the pass volume, the pass accuracy, and the fact that Russell Wilson is getting starter reps right now. So he's going to come in without reps with the first team halfway through the season, if that's when it happens. So there's a lot of potential organizational chaos that would happen with Pittsburgh. Not only that, but also there's all concerns of Arthur Smith. Is Arthur Smith going to deploy the players in the right way? We saw how frustrated fantasy managers were in Atlanta when he was the head coach and calling plays. And now he brings in some of his favorite players, Van Jefferson, Cordarrelle Patterson, get roles immediately on the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we have concerns that Roman Wilson is going to have to work his way and chip his way into a meaningful role. Look, I liked Roman Wilson's efficiency metrics, his yards per route run. He had some explosive games in college. But one of the hindrances for these stats were the fact that the University of Michigan Wolverines were a run-first team, a run-heavy team. And that's going to, we'll talk about Blake Corum in just a second, but that hindered, I think, a lot of the tape that many of the scouts were looking for in terms of what Roman Wilson could make it as an immediate impact player. I mean, The Giants viewed J.J. McCarthy as a project, right? We'll talk about McCarthy in a little bit as well. But Roman Wilson, there are concerns that he will not be an immediate impact player. Look, I'd love to be wrong about this. Maybe during training camp, we see Roman Wilson take steps up. He deserved it. I believe that he's the second best receiver on the team behind George Pickens, but there's veteran deference happening right now. Calvin Austin has waited his turn. Van Jefferson, brought over by the previous regime, in Atlanta to Arthur Smith. So there are concerns that Roman Wilson, there's a lot of pathways for failure for Roman Wilson. So I've not been drafting a lot of him. We need to move him down the rankings. We'll talk about his teammate in college, Blake Corum. Just as how Roman Wilson been getting almost no buzz at all, Blake Corum's been getting a lot of positive buzz in the offseason. They love him in LA. No doubt. He was arguably the best running back in college football 2 years ago. And then he suffered the injury. And look, Blake Corum, he also got day 2 draft capital, got placed on a kingmaker type team. We know what Sean McVay can do and Matthew Stafford can do in that Rams offense. We've seen Kyren Williams be the running back 2 overall. And Kyren Williams' player profiler comp is Theo Riddick. Theo Riddick, the Theo Riddick profile player, was RB2 overall. So, insert one of the best backs in college football 2 years ago and another year removed from the knee injury that he suffered at the University of Michigan in 2022, Blake Corum sets up for a massive, massive season. And Kyren Williams already dealing with the foot issues. We've seen Kyren Williams have foot issues in his NFL career in the not so distant past. So Blake Corum has the pathway to not just take over because, he's the handcuff. He has the pathway to earn and win the job outright for the LA Rams. RB1 overall is not out of reach for Blake Corum. That may be the hottest take that I give. But we know what kind of kingmaker Sean McVay is for the Todd Gurley's of the world, right? For the Kyren Williams of the world. This is not rocket science. It's why Cam Akers failed. He just wasn't as good, and he dealt with injuries, which slowed him down, and it just could never be the same. Here's the reality. The reality is Blake Corum only 2 rounds earlier or so than Roman Wilson. Major value. We want to be in on Blake Corum. Another player that we need to be in on. We've been hearing some positive things about Jalen Polk. Jalen Polk has been getting positive buzz. There is a realistic outcome that Jalen Polk becomes the wide receiver 1. The beat reporters have been speaking how Jalen Polk will be making an immediate impact for the New England Patriots. We need to be moving him up in the dynasty draft rankings. We need to be moving him up in our best ball rankings. This is a Tank Dell type. Only he's bigger than Tank Dell. So on a team that is extremely underrated, we want to be in on Jalen Polk. His teammate Drake May, we need to reel back a little bit in terms of season long. In terms of dynasty, we need to reel back a little bit. As of right now, Jacoby Brissett is taking first team reps. And that's not good for the development of a rookie quarterback. We have to be concerned with Drake May not getting first team reps. Hopefully that shifts over the course of training camp. We want to see rookies getting the majority of first team reps if they are the quarterback. The worst thing that a team can do is give him 20%, 30%, 40% of the first team reps. That is the worst thing that they can do because it stunts their development. It allows for the veteran to get snaps and build chemistry with players that he doesn't have a future with. The rookie first round quarterback, Drake May, is the future. And if he's the future, treat him like that. Give him the opportunity. Give him the reins. Either that or just sit him. Because that's what we've seen over the last however many years. We've seen it with Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers was not forced to start right away. He sat for 3 years and then took over, became MVP. Patrick Mahomes sat for the entire first year of his NFL career, except the last game of the season. There was no pressure, though. There was no pressure in that game. We saw with Jordan Love. Jordan Love sits for 3 years behind Aaron Rodgers, and he looked bad for the majority of those 3 years. But then he comes out and becomes almost an MVP candidate, arguably the best quarterback in the NFL in the second half of the season, because of how the teams are developing their quarterbacks. If a team says, hey, we're going to start you 3-4 games in, then you're not only at the rookie quarterback at a 3-4 game disadvantage, they are also, so they're not getting those reps in the preseason. They're not getting the reps during the first 4 games. And then they are just starting to build the chemistry over the next 4 games. So by the time they get to, oh, I'm just starting to feel my groove, I'm starting to build this chemistry, we're starting to see this development, it is already more than halfway through the season, which is why it is a mistake if the New England Patriots continue to give Jacoby Brissett majority of first-team reps. Same thing with Minnesota. We need to be moving J.J. McCarthy down in managed leagues. We need to be moving him down because our concern is that Sam Darnold is getting those first-team reps. I just talked about Drake May, right? Same thing goes for J.J. McCarthy. So we have to be moving J.J. McCarthy down a little bit. These are organizations that we have to monitor very closely. Can McCarthy and May move back on up later on after training camp if they earn the majority of these first team reps and they earn the job outright? Yes, I think that is the pathway. But we saw what the offense for the Indianapolis Colts looked like last year. Oh, man, Anthony Richardson was having himself a day when he was on the field, when he was healthy. Shane Steichen knew what he was doing. He just gave – there wasn't any fooling around. There was no Gardner Minshew. Right? They weren't fooling around with Minshew. Oh, man. So those are some players we need to be moving up or down so far. I will have some more risers and fallers in the Dynasty streets. But first, a word about our Breakout Finder app.
Oh, hey, it's Mr. Breakout Finder coming at you. The Breakout Finder features 3 key tools. A database of metrics that include speed score, college dominator, breakout age, but also Breakout Finder only stats like dynamic score, level of competition, teammate score. All of these things are part of the overall Breakout Finder algorithm that pinpoints the probability that a player will break out. Everyone's talking about my model does this and my model does that. Well, we give you the data points that go into the model. We have a feature that lets you compare players, and then we give you the precise probability of every wide receiver, every running back, sorted and filterable by class year. So when I'm talking to my friends and I need to show them why I'm so bullish on player X, I pull out the Breakout Finder and bam, there he is. So go to the App Store, go to Google Play. It's $5 to get the Breakout Finder, and then a couple extra bucks to get some of these additional enhanced stats. Go download it and thank me later.
That's right. Go download it and thank Matt Kelly, a.k.a. the Podfather, later. A couple players that need to be moving down your drafts. Malachi Corley, wide receiver for the New York Jets. There were reports out that Xavier Gibson is going to get starts at the wide receiver position, probably in the slot. You've got Garrett Wilson, you've got Mike Williams, and then you've got Xavier Gibson in the slot. Who? If you are asking yourself, who is Xavier Gibson? That's the whole problem with Malachi Corley right now. Malachi Corley has fallen half a round just in the last couple weeks on Underdog Fantasy. And it's because of this concern that it's going to take a while for Malachi Corley to develop a rapport with Aaron Rodgers. And even if he does, let's say he does, he's got two big target earners ahead of him in Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams is going to get his 18 to 22% target share. Garrett Wilson is going to get his 25 to 30% target share, just depends on the day. Tyler Conklin won't be going away anytime soon. And Breece Hall is going to get his 10 to 12% target share. Like, we like some of those options on the New York Jets. And so Malachi Corley is already low on the totem pole. And then we factor in the Jets organization and how they run, right? Do we have a high level of confidence that the Jets will be able to deploy a Malachi Corley effectively? I don't think the answer is yes. I think the answer is no. So even if we have this really talented player who is taking a long time to develop chemistry, right, it's going to be an outside chance that a Malachi Corley could play an important and consistent flex role for you. Do we have a high level of confidence? No. So not only do we have organizational or depth chart concerns, we also have pace of play concerns for the Jets. The Aaron Rodgers Green Bay Packers were one of the slowest teams in the NFL in terms of pace of play. They would always run up the clock until a couple seconds before, the clock runs out and they got to snap the ball because Rodgers wants to take his time. He is about efficiency. He is about creating darts and shooting darts and making those efficient plays happen. So are we going to get the volume? I don't think the answer is yes. The answer is no for Malachi Corley. So we need to move him down in terms of rookie rankings. Maybe near the end of the year, he gives you some flex plays, but we have to be concerned about Malachi Corley. We've been hearing a lot of positive buzz about Bo Nix. Bo Nix, we should presume, is the week one starter. That's where the money is going. That's where the money is being laid in Vegas, that Bo Nix will start week one. And if Denver was smart, which, they invested a first-round pick in Bo Nix. But we have to be more confident that Bo Nix is going to be the starter. So we have to treat him as such. I have a very high ranking of Bo Nix, not only because I expect him to start the full year, but also the accuracy and the low depth of target is going to work great for the Sean Payton offense. It fits with exactly the vision of what Sean Payton wants to execute and how his offense is set up. You've got one big bodied wide receiver in Cortland Sutton. You've got a speedster deep threat in Marvin Mims. You've got a couple other pieces. Troy Franklin can stretch the field a little bit, but he doesn't have the necessary draft capital, but he does have the chemistry. So you could see a little bit of stacking with Bo Nix and Troy Franklin. I don't mind that. But when it comes to how are we treating these rookie quarterbacks, Bo Nix is going to be a solid starter for the Denver Broncos. That's how we need to treat him. I'm not going to be super bullish, but I do want to be above market on Bo Nix with the expectation that he's going to be the starter. So we want some Bo Nix. Okay. Another update is Rasheen Ali is working his way up the depth chart. Right now, the depth chart for the Baltimore Ravens is, of course, Derrick Henry at the top. And then you have Justice Hill. And then you have Rasheen Ali and then Keaton Mitchell. Why is Keaton Mitchell at the bottom? Because he's still recovering from a late season ACL tear. And it's going to take him time to work his way back. So there is opportunity for Rasheen Ali, number 3 on the depth chart, to earn special teams snaps and then work his way up. It is within the range of outcomes that Rasheen Ali becomes the running back 2 by week 10, by week 8, by week 12. Rasheen Ali being, and if Derrick Henry, 30-year-old Derrick Henry goes down with an injury, Rasheen Ali was very interesting. And so we want to be investing in the Baltimore Ravens backfield, given that the Ravens are expected to once again be the run heaviest team in the NFL. Last year, the Ravens were the number one team in terms of rushing yards per game. We expect a reprisal with Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, and whoever else is in the backfield. So Rasheen Ali needs to be moving up our rankings. All right. Let's take a look at a couple other players who are rising or falling. Keon Coleman is a big faller. Our concern is that the reports are Keon Coleman has a steep learning curve for the Buffalo Bills. A steep learning curve, not what you want to hear when the Bills do not have a clear wide receiver one. They don't have a clear wide receiver one. I mean, look, there's been a lot of positive buzz for Dalton Kincaid. But we know what the splits were with Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox on the field at the same time. It wasn't good, Bob. It was not good. This is something that I'd been pounding the table for a while. I don't know if the Bills are going to be creative enough to say, hey, you know what? Let's just force feed Dalton Kincaid. Kincaid played very well. Most of those big games came with Dawson Knox out last year. So we have Curtis Samuel. Khalil Shakir is getting a lot of love as a starter. I don't think Khalil Shakir is anything special. Let's not get two ways about it. But if Keon Coleman takes a long time to get developed, then we may be looking at Curtis Samuel, Khalil Shakir, and Dalton Kincaid all getting somewhere between like a 17 and 22% target shares. That's how I would estimate them, with Curtis Samuel getting a sprinkling of rushing as well. But negative reports about Keon Coleman's development so far this offseason should be a major concern for us who are investing top 70 draft capital in our best ball streets. That is a major concern. Like, this is not Jamar Chase. Oh, he's having trouble seeing the ball. If you remember that malarkey from a couple years ago. No, there were already flags to Keon Coleman's profile. And now we're getting reports that there is, quote, a steep learning curve. Bills GM Brandon Beane, he'll have to learn the offense and will be brought along slowly. He'll have to eventually learn multiple spots, and it might and become a key cog in the offense. He said that it might not be right away. Not the vote of confidence you want to hear from your GM about your early round wide receiver draft pick. You should be concerned about Keon Coleman and what return he could give you. All of that aside, even in the best ball streets, let's say Bradley. Don't rookie wide receivers spike near the end of the season? Don't they improve their stats? And the answer is yes. That is the general trend. We understand that rookies develop. I agree with that. But who do the Bills play in week 17? Our fantasy championship week. Let's say you've made it all the way to the championship with investing top 70 draft capital in Keon Coleman. They get the Jets. The most locked down secondary in the NFL. Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed, Michael Carter. Are you kidding me? These guys are studs in the secondary. So even if Keon Coleman somehow spikes, you think he's going to have a major spike week against the Jets outdoors in the winter? Lord have mercy. This is not a game where we expect it to be a shootout. So Keon Coleman does not have a lot of things going for him at this point. All right. I talked about Drake May, Bo Nix, Michael Penix. It's clear that he's not going to be, not going to be the starter. We'll keep scrolling down a little bit. Germaine Burton's been getting some love, but also Andre Yoshiva and Chase Brown, two sophomore players. It may be that Germaine Burton, I like Germaine Burton's chances of being a breakout player more than Keon Coleman's. And yes, Keon Coleman got better draft capital. And one could argue Keon Coleman got not only better draft capital, but a better landing spot. But we think about the pathway of development and the upside that could be accessed for a player like Germaine Burton. His reception perception was very, very, very high. And PFF receiving grades, yards per route run, those were very good metrics that we could see translate very easily. We saw Tyler Boyd be a useful third wide receiver in this offense. So Germaine Burton with opportunity and talent, I like his chances right now. Another player, this is a deep cut. I've been asking our news desk team, make sure you're going to playerprofiler.com/news. Subscribe to the Player Profiler News YouTube channel. Do it. One of the reasons why is for the last couple days, I have been honking the horn. Let's go. We need to be drafting Tyrone Tracy Jr. Draft him. He is getting first team reps right off the bat in the running back room for the Giants. Devin Singletary, we know what he is. We know what he is. He is an undersized overperformer. Who is Tyrone Tracy's Player Profiler comp? Anyone? Oh, I know. It's Rachaad White. And yes, White was not super efficient on the ground, but he could catch the passes. And that's exactly what Tyrone Tracy can do. He has been getting first team reps as a receiving back out of the backfield for the Giants. And now, yes, Daniel Jones is a little bit more mobile. I don't think you were going to see the super volume for Tyrone Tracy. But could we see 4 targets a game, 5 targets a game? That could be very interesting. We're not going to get to 7 or 8. Malik Neighbors, Wan'Dale Robinson, they'll get theirs for sure. But with ambiguity at the tight end position, we know when there's not really a stud tight end, that can lead to more running back targets. And that may offset the mobility concerns, of Daniel Jones, especially if Daniel Jones still going along with his ACL. He may be a little bit just a hair, a little bit more of a pocket passer. Tyrone Tracy is very, very interesting at his ADP. We want to be drafting more Tyrone Tracy, given the opportunity, given his comps. He was just drafted. He got respectable 5th round draft capital. We can't be upset about that. I mean, it's not great, but it's not bad. And we like the landing spot. Devin Singletary, he could easily just fade away. That is very much within the range of outcomes for a Devin Singletary. Tyrone Tracy could be the answer. I'm not saying he will be, but the pathway for him to earn starter reps is very, 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 very real. So we need to be moving Tyrone Tracy up in our rankings. We need to be a little bit more aggressive in targeting players not only who are going to make the 53-man roster, but who are also going to be involved actively in their team's offense. Tyrone Tracy projecting very strongly to do so. If you guys like the content, find it helpful, make sure you're subscribing to the Player Profiler News YouTube channel. Bookmark, check out playerprofiler.com/news. Gives you all of this and more information up to date. We've got awesome content creators on that site for YouTube, for playerprofiler.com/news. I'm Bradley Stalder. Until next time, everyone, good luck in the fantasy football streets.
Hey, I want to thank you for being part of this broadcast. If you have any thoughts on it, leave a comment. If you enjoyed it, make sure you leave a like. And if you want to see more shows on the Player Profiler channel, subscribe to it. That's how we know you want more.